When I was on vacation this summer, I found this, knowing that I was going to be speaking with you today, and I couldn't resist purchasing the bumper sticker. What if we destroy the planet before Jesus gets back? I couldn't resist, knowing that this was my Sunday lesson. It was kind of amazing to me that in the last month or so, there was a multitude of things that came across my desk or into my mailbox. One was the Time magazine, How Earth Survived in 2050. That's only 30 years away, ladies and gentlemen. And then, of course, the last couple of weeks, we've had climate strikes. And 1,000 Amazon employees plan a walkout to protest climate change. And of course, we all know about the student or the youth protests all over the world. I would also strongly recommend, if you're concerned at all, checking out Spiritual Ecology, The Cry of the Earth. It's written by many, many authors, spiritual authors that can assist you. This last week, Greta Thunberg, a teenager from Sweden, spoke at the UN conference on climate change. The conference actually began in 1995. It made me wonder how much we have stopped the challenges of the climate change in the last 25 years because of these conferences. Her speech wasn't long, but I'd like to quote a couple of key sentences from it. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecological systems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? For more than 30 years, the science has been crystal clear. How dare you continue to look away and come here saying that you're doing enough, when the politics and solutions needed are still nowhere in sight. She mentioned mass distinction. And of course, the last time mass distinction happened was when an asteroid hit the Earth and all of the dinosaurs were destroyed. This time, it is mankind that is destroying our home, the planet Earth. Not too long ago, I read an article that Marianne Williamson wrote regarding our planet. I'd like to share the essence of what she wrote because I think it is really very, very true. Before the introduction of Christianity in the Western world, villages in Europe were filled with women who performed nature rituals in their villages and towns. These rituals kept the people who performed them and those who participated in them emotionally and spiritually connected to the earth, the sky, the fields, and the rivers. In other words, the earth and its totality and their surroundings. Anyone who has been in any other part of the world can see the evidence of these rituals. There's the Stonehenge in England, the cave writings in France, and the stone placements on the tiny islands of Scotland, as well as the many temples of worship in Mexico, South America, and the Pacific Islands, and other such ancient spiritual dwellings. All are examples of places where rituals were performed for the purpose of connecting with the earth, the sun, the moon, and the seasons. Humanity at that time was seen as living in sacred partnership with the earth as well as the universe, and their universe was not that big. Remember, they thought the world was flat. The people knew they were connected to their surroundings and beyond. There was an innate knowledge that what they did to the earth, they did to themselves. With the advent of the early Christian church, a new dispensation was introduced into humanity's thinking. It was the idea or belief that we were not in divine partnership with the earth, but rather the earth was given to us to be used for our purpose. While this thought is not inherent in Christian teaching, it has reigned for centuries and created a fundamental rift in man's relationship with the universe, with nature, and our planet Earth. That change in thinking, the spiritual rift between humanity and nature, was the beginning of our emotional crisis. Today, centuries later, that rift has reached grotesque and unbelievable proportions. From the destruction of our topsoil to the desecration of our wilderness, from the carbonization of our atmosphere to the removal of mountaintops and the destruction of millions of acres of farmland and forest. Humanity's differential respect to corporate profits has replaced our devotion to what is morally good and morally right. This must stop, or we will kill ourselves. No species survives that systematically destroys its own habitat. Let me say that one again. No species survives that systematically destroys its own habitat. We need a moral and a spiritual awakening in America, which alone will awaken us to our responsibility as citizens to override the soulless forces of a sociopathic economic system. On earth, and possibly our lives, depends upon it. I believe that Williamson has pretty much hit the head of the nail. We are responsible for what is happening to our earth, to our universe, to our planet. No one else. I was recently in the state of Washington visiting the Olympic National Park, and when I entered the park into the museum there to get my ticket to be able to see everything, I noticed this huge, large sign on a wall, and it was a quote from Chief Seattle. It said, "If all the beasts were gone, man would die from great loneliness of spirit. For whatever happens to the beasts soon happens to man. All things are connected." This was from a man who lived in 1786 to 1866. He knew our truth. There is no separation between us and the beasts and our world. We need only look at the endangered species list to know that our world is environmentally in environmental peril. Did you know that in the last 100 years, we have destroyed over 500 species of birds, animals, reptiles, fish, and insects in just 100 years? The top 100 species that are currently on the list are listed as vulnerable, endangered, or critically endangered. It includes penguins, tigers, gorillas, polar bears, and turtles, just to name a few. I was deeply touched by the photo on the cover of the October 2019 National Geographic. And I'm sorry it's not bigger. But this is a caregiver in Africa saying goodbye to the last male white rhino on Earth as it died. There are only 2 females left. There will be no more white rhinos in the world because of poaching, because of our environment. They are gone. It is and according to scientists, we're on the brink of mass destruction. And this kept showing up again and again and again as I did my research for today's lesson. As I reviewed the current information on our planet, I discovered that there are 5 top environmental concerns for 2019. They include biodiversity. It is essentially every living thing and ecosystem that makes up the environment, from the tallest giraffe to the tiniest of microcosms or microorganisms. Everything plays an important role in the maintenance of our world. I remember going to a professional recreation conference probably 30 or 35 years ago where the keynote speaker talked about the circle of life and our interdependence on every single organism on Earth. One of the examples that he gave was of the sea otters and the kelp. Now, if you've ever been to Monterey, you know that there are lots of otters there in the ocean. And if you're really quiet and you kayak out, you can see them in the kelp fields. Now, the kelp, in turn, feed a multitude of sea creatures, but it is also used in the creation of your toothpaste or your shampoos, our salad dressings, puddings, frozen foods, and even pharmaceutical items. When the water in the ocean is polluted by plastic, human trash, and cruise ship waste, it threatens the ocean, and in turn the kelp fields begin to die. And when they begin to die, the organisms that are necessary that eat the kelp in order for their existence begin to die, and the otters begin to die. Recently, a necropsy was performed on a whale that died near the Philippines. He was starving to death because they found 90 pounds of plastic in his stomach. He was unable to nurture himself. There was no room for food. Next in this list comes water. Water pollution is a huge financial strain and is killing both humans, animals, and marine life. With oil spills and abundance of plastic waste and toxic chemicals enter our waterways, we're damaging the most valuable resource our planet has to offer. Unhealthy water, if one drinks it, can cause typhoid, cholera, dysentery, jaundice, and malaria. Chemicals in the water also have negatively affected our own health. Pesticides that leak into the water can damage the human nervous system and cause cancer. We need only look at Humboldt County here in California, where the massive amounts of marijuana fields that have pesticides on them that are leaking into the waterways. And Humboldt County has a higher rate than the state of California for cancer. Then there is deforestation. This is something that we saw recently in Brazil because of the destructive fires that they were created by mankind to make farmland and industrial locations available. Trees provide us with oxygen and food and water and medicine for all of us, all over the entire globe. Fourth on the list is pollution. Some we can see every day. If you just drive up to Forest Ranch, about 6 months out of the year, you'll notice kind of a brown haze over our own homeland, right here in Chico. Pollution is one of the primary causes of many of the environmental concerns, including climate change and biodiversity. All 7 key types of pollution, air, water, soil, nose, radioactivity, light, and thermal, are affecting our environment. The top 5 CEO polluters in the world in this order are China first, the United States of America second, India, Russia, and Japan. We still have a lot of work to do. Last on the list is climate change. A recent UN report indicated without unprecedented changes in our actions and behavior, our planet will suffer drastically from global warming in just 12 years. That means the year 2031. How old will you be in 2031? How about your children? How about your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren? Greenhouse gases are the main cause of climate change. The gases get trapped in the sun's heat and warm the surface of the earth. Pretty scary, I'd say. For me personally and spiritually, I believe the earth or our planet represents the consciousness of our being. In other words, the state of the world is a direct reflection of the state of our collective consciousness. We are producing, destroying, and polluting at a far greater speed with little or no concern for future generations. We are not separate from this problem. We are the problem. We live divided lives. On one hand, we ask industries to support our greed and our need for more and more conveniences, comfort, and possessions. How many of you can remember when you had to get up to turn the TV on? Ah, yes. Or how many of you remember when you had to get up to turn the light switch on rather than punching a button on your telephone? Those are all conveniences, and note the plastic that they contain. We have become addicted consumers, which causes industrial waste. At the same time, we ignore our connection between our demands and our exploitations of Mother Earth that goes with it. When we demand more than what we need for our own subsistence and well-being, we are invariably abusing the resources of our body and our Mother Earth. Mother Earth is the womb of the sustaining power of humanity. We are nurtured by healthy condition of Mother Earth. In humans, if the mother is ailing, the child is suffering. In the womb, the child is helpless. But in our case, it is the mother who is helpless. We are the cause of the ailing planet, and we are likewise the victims. As Carl Jung wrote, "If things go wrong in the world, something is wrong with me. Therefore, if I am susceptible, I shall put myself right first. I shall put myself right first with this issue." Our relationship to the earth invariably is the reflection of our relationship with ourselves. Our ailing planet's consciousness is a reflection of our ailing humanity and our self-consciousness. Just as the forest is green only when the trees in the forest are green, the global healing could occur only when individuals are awakened to our higher consciousness. We heal the planet as we heal ourselves. As each of us experiences the integrated power of awareness within, healing our internal conflicts of body, mind, and spirit, we feel love for all expressions of God, for all of life, and for the entire world. Once a great yogi lived for 125 years, and he was asked, "What is your secret of long life?" He said, "I live on interest." What he meant was that he wasn't using up his principle. Right now, we have not only exhausted our principle, we are living off of our overextended credit card that is maxed out. We have gone so far that the collection agency is knocking at our door and say, "Clean me up. Take care of me." We have new kinds of cancers because of the poisons we ingest in our food. There are 7 million deaths worldwide each year because of pollution. Toxic chemicals leach out of plastics and are found in each and every one of us in our bloodstream and the tissues because they've done autopsies on us. This causes damage to our livers, our kidneys, our hearts, let alone our brains. The destructive patterns that we have created in weather conditions, toxic environment, and water pollution are the collection agencies now demanding payment for the debt that we have created. The knock at our door is actually healthy. It's a wake-up call that gives us an opportunity to alter our awareness to transform not only the earth, but also the consciousness of every human being in a profound and far-reaching way. Our current individual, social, and cultural surroundings have created a disruption in our life that is being mirrored on a global scale. Many of us were raised in a materialistic society. We adopted a belief in our childhood that more was better, rather than less is more. As the age of science, industrialization, and technology created the power to produce more and more, the greed for more grew along with it. As consumers, many of us have developed an insatiable hunger for more. As a result, we have not only abused our bodies, we have indirectly promoted industries that are destroying the ecological balance of the planet. As each one of us becomes more aware and realize that we are the source of the problem we complain about, we learn to become the stewards of our resources rather than those who exploit it. Responsibility for our environment is an age-old theism. The words of the ancient Vedas says, Pende tat Brahmad, which means literally, what is in the microcosm is in the macrocosm. The individual body and bodies of the cosmos are alike. The intelligence of Prana, the universal primal life force that sustains, protects and evolves the life of our individual body is the same that which sustains it. Protects and evolves the life of the body of the universe. Just as the primal wisdom inherent and inborn within the individual body maintains its own internal ecological balance, the same all-pervading intelligence sustains the balance of the universe. We have no power to protect or use the energy resources of our planet any differently than the way we use, abuse, misuse, or exploit our own body-mind energy system. It is the conscious use of energy resources that maintains the homeostatic processes in the body. It is conscious living that uses the energy resources of this planet in a way that protects the ecological balance of the earth. Cleaning up the earth must be viewed as part of the evolution of yours and my consciousness. This is not an isolated event. Only 200 years ago, the earth was pollution-free. But the very increasing technological advances since the Industrial Revolution have rapidly put our planet on a collision courses with destruction. Even if we wake up and pay attention to the conditions of the planet, we must clear it in our consciousness. We must meditate, we must pray about it, and we must clean our consciousness. If not, history will repeat itself. If we make external changes but continue to live in the same unconsciousness, the problem will have a temporary solution. And in time, the next generation will face it all over again. Ongoing awareness and a shift in our consciousness is the only permanent solution. Let me say that again. Ongoing awareness and a shift in our consciousness is the only permanent solution. This will be how we heal the planet. The earth supports our every function, our very existence. We must ask ourselves, what are we doing to support the earth? After all, the earth serves us, and what can you do individually to repay that service? There's a multitude of things you can do to help heal the planet. Just go on the internet and see what you personally can do. A few are as simple as putting on a sweater instead of turning up the heat in the winter. Or how about walking more places rather than driving? Then there's the using paper versus plastic. Yes, I know it costs more money, but it's an investment in our future. Take your own bags to the grocery store. And most importantly of all, write your congressman, write your politicians from city council to the president. Demand policies that protect the future of the earth and all of its living things. I shared a lot of effects today. Remember, we are the cause. of the situation that our world is currently in. Mr. Rogers, remember Mr. Rogers? Every day he'd come in and put his sweater on. He was saving energy. But he said, one of the greatest dignities of humankind is that each successive generation is invested in the welfare of each new generation. Let us not forget that every step we take, every action we do to heal our planet is an investment in the welfare of generations yet to come. All of you received a copy of a prayer today. It was on colored blue or green paper. I'd like you to take that out at this point. And what I'm going to ask you to do in a moment is to take a stand. I want you to stand up and we're going to recite this prayer together. And then I'm going to challenge you to take it home and use it in your daily spiritual practice. It'll take you only a minute or two. But it is prayers such as this that will clear our consciousness and that will heal our planet. And when we stand, we're saying yes to that healing. Yes to a new earth. Please stand. We join with the earth and with each other to bring new life to the land, to restore the waters, to refresh the air. We join with the earth and with each other to renew the forests, to care for the plants, to protect the creatures. We join with the earth and with each other to celebrate the seas, to rejoice in the sunlight, to sing the songs of stars, to join with the earth and with each other, to recreate the human community, to promote justice and peace, to remember our children. We join with the earth and with each other. We join together as many and diverse expressions of one loving ministry for the healing of earth and the renewal of all life. This is the truth in my life, and this is the truth in yours, and so it is.